One. All right, folks, I am really excited today to have some folks that are going to tell us a little bit more about a product that I'm absolutely in love with. It's called Urban Polling, and I've got my Urban Polling sticks right here. You ever see people walking on a hiking trail or on a bike trail, and instead of using a cane, they're using these two things that look like ski poles? Well, there is an organization that has really refined this product to be utilized by all of us, no matter what our age and abilities are. And we've got some folks today that can help us understand it a little bit better. I'm going to start with you, Lisa. Lisa, tell us a little bit about your role and what the heck is urban polling?
Great. Well, thank you so much for having us on. I'm excited to talk about urban polling. Just a little bit about myself. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. The company is actually from Toronto, but I'm in Nashville and I do sales and marketing and outreach for them. What is urban polling? The easiest answer for people who have never seen this, if you visualize cross-country skiing without the skis, that's what urban polling is. Excuse me. So there's two different versions depending on your needs and abilities. The traditional urban polling or Nordic walking, you may have heard it called Nordic walking, really looks like the cross-country skiing, where the poles are at an angle and propel you forward. Nordic walking is using poles, specialized walking poles, to turn walking into a full body exercise. So when you go out for a walk, which is a great thing, we all should walk more, you're using about half of your muscles from waist on down. When you add poles into your hands, especially these poles, you're now using 90% of your muscles. And what's special about these poles is the company has been around for 20 years. The handles, if you hold the poles up again, are specialized where your hand actually goes on the ledge instead of being strapped in. I was going to say there's a right and a left. So you make sure the heel of your hand is on that ledge. But they were developed by an occupational therapist who worked a lot with folks with neurological issues, Parkinson's, stroke, and whatnot. But the poles also are great for anybody, for everybody, pretty much. But people with chronic health conditions. I personally got involved with urban polling before a hip replacement surgery. So I used them before and after my surgery for rehab, and then continued on with them as a fitness tool. And that's the nice thing about it is they're a lifelong fitness tool. So the second version of Nordic walking is more of a modified Nordic walking, and that is for someone who needs more balance. For me, when I had the hip surgery, I needed a little more balance and support, and some offloading of my body weight. The poles are in front rather than being at an angle, but you're still doing opposite arm and leg cross body movement using 90% of your body weight. We've got a great video that I shared with you for a gentleman who has Parkinson's. He lives down in the Tampa, Florida area, and it's just such a dramatic difference when he's walking with and without his poles. If you've got that video right there. I mean, what a huge difference.
That is amazing. Radical difference.
Hmm.
And I have noticed that when I'm walking with my poles, I'm walking with more intention. I feel safer. I think I walk at a slightly faster pace too. It could be making that up,
No, you're not, actually.
but the other thing that I love about these is that they're cool. Is that I feel very Euro when I'm walking around, and I think that's one of the interesting things is the stigma of mobility devices or a cane. You know, all the Hallmark cards, poke fun of people, every old person on a Hallmark card has
Mhm.
a cane and they're hunched over. Whereas, uh, you know, when you're walking around with your urban poles, you look like an athlete.
Absolutely. One of my favorite parts of that whole video is the side-by-side comparison when he just has the biggest smile on his face. I mean, he's able to get out and do something that he really enjoyed that he wasn't able to do previously. That's
I
one of the
love it.
biggest things that these polls do for folks, is
Yeah,
they give you the ability to do things and get places.
I,
Um,
I
yes,
love it. Now, Joy, you've got a clinical background. Jump in here and that video that we just watched. Can you give us a little bit of the clinician's viewpoint on what's going on with this gentleman who definitely appeared to be less balanced in his walking uh, without the urban poles?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my background is I'm a doctor of physical therapy. And so just thinking about working with clients, no matter what setting I'm in, I love the polls because they're so versatile. So to touch on that video right there, like we want people to stay independent and improve their quality of life for as long as possible. And those polls or the polls, the activator polls, can really help people do that. So a lot of the times people with Parkinson's, they do have a balance issue. They're not as symmetrical and they sometimes do start to get that hunched over feeling. But as soon as he put those poles in his hands, they gave him just enough stability that he was able to stand more upright. I love the symmetry of it because there's two poles. It forces him to swing his arms and it allows him to take bigger steps. And again, it's that quality of life. But also to touch on what you had started talking about, they are ability tools. And so you look at these other tools that we have been introduced to as therapists as options for people that have some balance issue. The cane you brought up, right? It automatically puts somebody off to one side. And so they're going to start favoring the muscles and walking a little bit differently. So in the long run, they're using the cane for balance and probably to offload joints, but in the long run, it's going to create more havoc and issues on some of the muscles. And so by having poles, again, you're upright and symmetrical. And then if you think about the other tools that we have are walkers. And as soon as you put a walker in people's hands, they flex forward and start looking at the ground. And we want people to be upright and enjoying what they're doing and being able to see what's going on around them. And it doesn't allow them to swing their arms. So when you put poles in people's hands, it allows that upright mobility and the ability to swing arms. And for some people, a walker blocks their ability to take those big steps, and so poles allow them to be upright and take bigger steps. Just a few things off the top of my head, anyway.
I
But I
love
had
it.
mentioned in this different settings, like if a person is in a hospital bed, right? The poles are very easy for me to take into their hospital room as a therapist. I can help them to get sitting upright at the edge of the bed just by putting their hands on that ledge. Like Lisa said, we're now activating their entire body because they're getting some core and arm activation to help them get ready to start standing and walking again and maybe transferring to the wheelchair all the way to being in an outpatient clinic. And like I said to you before we even started, I started my own company to get people back out into the community and to be able to see people walk through the park. I mean, the second that you put these in people's hands, I usually get two responses. One is, oh my gosh, I'm standing up so much taller. And I'm like, you're like 6 inches taller. The second one is they start telling me all of the things that they're going to be able to do now that they weren't able to do before. Oh my gosh, I can walk to the end of my driveway now and get my mail, or I can go to the park and walk around with my grandkids. So, there's so many awesome stories that I've heard that I use the polls all the time, and that's really how I transitioned over and started doing education for urban polling.
Love it. We're going to get back to that, but the I want to visit with Alexa, who Alexa, you're a practitioner actually, I believe in Maryland. And tell us a little bit about your background and your organization, and then how you're using the urban poles.
Sure. My name is Alexa Waugh. I'm with the Safe at Home program here in DC, actually. And so our program does home modifications. We are all occupational therapists and we have home modification training. So we come in and do an assessment of the person's home, be it a house, a single family house, or an apartment, whatever the situation is. And we're looking at how the person's interacting with their environment. They're in the home and how they're getting around. And we do like a full assessment and everything like that. So in DC, that is a free program for people who qualify for it. We can certainly talk about that more if we need to. But I was really excited to meet Lisa, I don't know, I guess about a year ago or so, something like that, and to learn more about urban polling. And we specifically use the activator poles through our program. And we think that our program does things like grab bars and stair lifts and all of those kinds of home modifications that make somebody really safe in their home. But somebody, just like Joy said, needs to go get their mail from the end of the driveway. They need to go tend their flowers in their garden. There's times that our home isn't just the stairs or the bathroom. It's also that space, and then it extends out to our community and how we get around it. So we provide some mobility devices, and everybody's different, but we felt like the activator poles were a really great addition for being able to get into those other spaces of the house and of their home. Also, DC, we have a lot of really tight spaces too. So there's times that a walker doesn't fit very well into a space either. And so there might be times that using the activator poles in the house is really helpful to get through some of those tight spaces. So we're really excited to offer that through our program.
I love it. And another thing that we haven't talked about yet that I'd like to talk about is that there are fitness instructors and exercise instructors who are actually certified in leading exercise classes that are utilizing these poles. And the thing that I absolutely love about that is that, if I go to a yoga class and I bring a yoga mat, there's really only a few practical uses of that yoga mat. Whereas if I go to an exercise class with these, I can, number one, walk to the class with these. I can take the class with these, and I can walk out. It's the ultimate functional exercise tool. Tell me a little bit about the exercise programs and how widespread are those now?
So I love the fact that Urban Polling, they've created their own continuing education course for, like you said, instructors and healthcare professionals. Because, sometimes people will be like, I already know how to use polls, but we really dive into the research. And there is over 300 articles on the benefits of using polls for exercise and walking. So we dive into that. We help give them clues on and ideas on how to structure a class. So it's not just how do you use them for walking, but we do teach the two techniques as well that Lisa was talking about, the one more for rehab and the other one that's more for fitness. And then try to cue people through, and we do lots of labs. So it's really a 4-hour course. And so when people leave there, they should be able to help maximize everybody in their community, whether they are working with some people with disabilities or people that have neurologic conditions, or people that are just getting older or young or the young that really want to use them for fitness. So it's really cool.
Man, well, we've really covered a lot of ground, but what are some things that I'm not thinking about, and some things that you all would like to share with the remaining time that we have here related to these amazing devices? And also another thing that I want to emphasize, folks, is that you can get walking sticks that are similar, that might look similar to these at like your local REI and things of that nature. However, these are specifically engineered to be better in streetscape, home environments as an exercise tool. Am I correct?
Yes, that handle is patented, so there's nothing else like it. Traditional poles have a strap that goes around your hand, but the research shows that injuries during Nordic walking are if someone falls and they're attached to the pole. You get much worse injury than if you could just let the poles go. So that's why they're designed strapless. Also, at the bottom of the pole, if you look at those, the base,
Mhm.
So those bell-shaped tips provide the stability. There are boot-shaped tips for the fitness version, and hiking tips. And then you can take those off. You can pop one of those off.
Yeah, and I've got the other
You have
tips.
the other
But
tips.
yeah, so
And
now this
then,
is
so now you
your
can go walk
classic
on
trail
hikes
hiking.
or
Yeah, or
trails.
I could take them skiing with me or something like
Right.
that.
Well, there's ski and snow baskets as well. So there's lots of ways to customize the poles to your need, which is great.
The other key feature that I think is amazing, knowing that they were designed by an occupational therapist and gerontologist, is that the poles are weighted way more than what a pole is that you would buy at REI or one of those other places. So each of our poles is weighted up to about 200 pounds. So a total body weight of 250. So as a clinician, it has a pin locking system, right? So you lock that into place and it's not going anywhere. I don't have to worry about the poles collapsing on somebody, and knowing that if they're using them to offload joints, that they're going to help support them.
Now that I think about it, the the poles that I had before this, which I had got at an outdoor store, they were like this twist lock thing. And I can't tell you how many times I would plant the pole and it would slide in. And it's more of a hazard. This system is great. Um, Alexa, tell us a little bit about the Safe at Home program that you're a part of. Is there anything like this in other parts of the country? It's pretty unique to Washington, D.C., isn't it?
It is pretty unique. So there are other home modification programs around the country, and the country is working, I think, on getting more home modifications through some of the grant programs they have. But we are really lucky here in DC to have the Safe at Home program. We've had it. We're working on our 10th year right now, and it's funded by the local DC government, and we have served over 7,000 folks
Wow.
through the years. And so, like I said, we mostly are installing things like stair lifts, handrails, grab bars, things like that. But what's really unique is having the OTs do the assessment as well, which also has been studied, and having an occupational therapist involved in that process leads to better outcomes as well. And I had one other thing with the poles that I think is really useful, especially in a more urban environment. We have a lot of folks who live in apartment buildings, and they get walkers or rollators, all kinds of things. And then they can't carry them up and down the stairs all the time with them. And so the poles are, canes do that as well. But as Joy was talking about, it's really nice to have the bilateral use, the use with both arms. And so the poles become something that makes it a lot more accessible for folks who are having to traverse a lot of sets of stairs, or even in the home, carrying a walker up and down the stairs all the time can cause be a risk in its own as well. And so that's something we've really liked about the poles as well.
And again, these things look a heck of a lot more cooler than a cane or a walker. But I also like this little handy thing that clips the two poles together. So if you are carrying them, it makes it relatively easy. Um, wow, this is great. Well, I commend your program, number one, for helping people make their homes more safe and accessible. But really, I'm super impressed that you and your colleagues are suggesting to your clients a product like this. I think that if we could get more folks in the universal design, occupational therapy, safe and accessible home space, to sort of think outside of the box and think about products like this, same way that they think about grab bars and stair glides, it would be amazing for the clients that they're serving. Wow, this has been a great discussion, y'all. Before we close, any last words? I'll make sure to put links to all of the websites and details in the recording here, but anything that we missed?
Well, Joy is teaching a virtual live course, instructors of community programs in January. So if someone
Excellent.
would like to begin a community program, she is an excellent instructor, and you will really enjoy her. And we would offer a discount, TLC 20, for 20% off her course if there are community leaders or fitness instructors or therapists who would like to take that course.
And so the community program is basically any organization or individual that could utilize these, spread the word, create urban polling walking clubs. I could see just a lot of use cases.
Yeah, there's YMCA's and JCC's and rec centers, senior centers throughout the country who have programs like that. So yes, we'd
I
love to
love
help
it.
anybody that wants to get one going.
Excellent. We'll put a link to the calendar for the practitioners that are listening to this. All right. Well, y'all, this has been an amazing discussion, and I look forward to the next time that we connect.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.